format and presentation. As you already know, we have already covered quite a lot in terms of looking at some of the essential constituents of language curriculum design. As you might remember, we've done needs analysis, and we have also discussed environment analysis, and we have also discussed some key issues regarding course planning and syllabus design. And now we're going to start with how we can format and present the data which we have gathered through needs analysis and environment analysis, or how we can present it in a way which is useful for learners, right? So we're going to see now what are different parts of the format and presentation, and what's their implications for language teaching, right? Okay, so obviously format and presentation, they have their salient features. So we'll take a look at these features and their significance for course design and material development. So, right, as you might remember, we had a very detailed discussion about needs analysis, and we looked at some variables involved in needs analysis. We looked at the learner's aspect, we looked at their needs, their lacks, and their necessities. And we also looked at, environment analysis, the situation, the situational factors, the school in itself, the administration factors, teacher factors. And we also looked at, a set of 20 principles as proposed by Nation and McAllister in their book Language Curriculum Design. So these principles serve a guide for language designers, how we can, give a sort of, format, and how we can, choose content, and how we can sequence that particular content for a language curriculum design. But the most important thing amongst all variables is how we're gonna format and present the activities which are going to be used for language teaching. So that's the key question to be addressed here, right? Okay. Obviously, when we talk about format and presentation, we sort of need to make, some important decisions. And while making these decisions, we'll have to, bear in mind various constraints. For example, the size of the classroom, the time available, and the resources available. And we also sort of take into account the needs of the learners and their different perspectives and, the principles. So the principles here, as we have already, gone through these principles in quite, detail and depth, there are 20 sort of principles. And, one set of principles deals with content and sequencing, one deals with monitoring and assessment. So one is about format and presentation. Now we're going to see what is the actual implication of those principles for material development. Right. Okay. So obviously, the decisions, when we make decisions about format and presentation, which activities could be used for language teaching, and which couldn't be included, right? So these decisions need to be made very carefully and thoughtfully. Otherwise, we might be wasting our time if we don't look into several variables affecting language curriculum design. By variables, I mean to say the the time constraints and the situational or the environmental factors. And, and if we, for example, don't take into account the environmental, the organizational or institutional factors, they might be, useless for learners. And so I'm going to re-emphasize here, like the main purpose of discussing format and presentation is to see which activities, which language learning activities can fit into a specific material or a specific, course. So in brief, format and presentation, we've got, a set of principles and as proposed by Nation and McAllister, and one of the principles is motivation and one is integrated motivation. But we're going to see like these principles in further detail, and we'll also see, how input, output, and fluency can be developed by bringing activities which are useful for learners.